Hello and welcome to the 18th episode of the Meet the Entrepreneur podcast. This is ARTEEN ZAHIRI, and I am the co-host of this feature along with ELHAM CHOWDHURY and RUMEER KESHWANI. Today we are speaking with Coby Chatwin, co-founder and CEO, as well as Andrew Malekie, managing partner of Link Brokerages. Link provides a service unlike any other brokerage. The company brings state-of-the-art technology to an outdated industry, revolutionizing the way brokers, agents, and clients collaborate. The integration of its platform, cohesive brand, and comprehensive digital support maximizes efficiency and facilitates new levels of growth.
Well, it's great to meet you guys. I'll dive in quickly, brief background on myself, and then Andrew as well. I grew up out in Lake Elsinore, kind of got into real estate senior year of high school through a family friend. He was like, oh, well, might as well get your license. Like, it doesn't hurt. You can sell some houses, like, where you're going to college. Was kind of a way to make like spring break money and like pay dues for like the fraternities, things like that. Couple years into it, realized, wow, like you actually kind of make a career out of this. At the same time, was at LMU and got introduced to kind of the whole startup culture and kind of like software programs, and that's also a viable career path. Was able to kind of like merge the two. Me, my old broker at the time, Joseph, and Andrew kind of started Link out of that kind of concept of like we all like kind of know real estate. We've worked in some capacity of it, and then Leo, who also goes by Joseph, was always kind of on like the project management software side. So kind of came up with this idea of Link. We'll dive into it a little bit later. Started it out of LMU and kind of been running it since then.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Houston, but I went to a Jesuit school, which connected me to Loyola. And then through there, of course, met Coby, and I'd worked with Leo or Joseph a couple times on different software projects. And so we kind of all had that background, not necessarily like coding or development, but at least project management. And we were kind of just, we would scratch the surface of software development. And so all three of us together actually met at a startup weekend event at LMU where, you know, basically kids would come together and think of ideas, pitch them to a crowd or a team of judges, and they'd have 52 hours essentially to build a company. So full pitch deck, kind of like what the MVP would look like, you know, the market strategies, all that kind of stuff. And so Coby, Leo, or Joseph and I actually won that tournament. It was like a school safety app that we were pitching. And from there, we kind of knew we worked well together. Of course, Coby and his broker at the time just kind of had a great chemistry. They really understood the industry, and they kind of, from there, we developed a data-based approach to real estate, which we can jump into in just a minute. I'm not sure what you guys are able to see online. Or what we have, like our current website might be a little bit outdated, but we do have a full like data-focused website coming out. It's kind of like the back-end system of Link that is purely all collection and processing of real estate data, and kind of centralizing that data to facilitate future transactions. So I can let Coby jump into that to start.
Like I said, my broker and I were both at Coldwell Banker. He had been there 22 or 24 years, like top agent out in the area we were from. And his kind of frustration with real estate is he's been in it, like I said, for over 2 decades, and he's like, nothing's changing. He's like, the only thing that's changed is now you're signing documents online instead of actually in paper, but it's still all the same antiquated, fragmented system. There's 12 different parties touching 100 documents on every deal, and there's no carryover from one deal to the next. Like, there's no reason I should be getting an email or a text from escrow, the escrow assistant, title, the other agent, then my buyer, and then and a seller, like all about one document. He's like, if we could bring everything kind of under one roof in one house, and then kind of use past deals to leverage future deals, that's going to be the way you can actually change real estate. He was saying he saw a huge push, obviously, in like peer-to-peer and replacing real estate agents with companies like Open Door, like Zillow's kind of pushing this way, Redfin, where it's like you come in, just use a big corporation instead of an actual agent. And we feel that's not the right way to go. Agents are kind of necessary in like the places you don't expect. Like obviously any company can come in and just hand a buyer a dozen contracts and give you kind of like a rundown of what these do, but the agent's really there to kind of see like the things that you look past on like on a contract, and like lining up closings, making sure that you're not gonna be left homeless for 14 days, whatever it might be. So instead of taking this other route that we saw a lot of like big tech companies do, trying to bypass the agent, we thought if we can give the agent enough valuable tools and really allow them to kind of like build this like data bank and knowledge center it's only going to empower them more. And then by doing so, also we're giving them like better splits, better resources, things like that. So just really honing in and focusing on the agent themselves. We feel like that's just going to empower them more, make them more valuable to clients, and make their life easier.
Thank you for the background. How do you guys, given that position, and differentiate yourselves against other tech-centered, tech-enabled real estate brokerages like Redfin or Compass?
So Compass definitely has a huge like marketing side push. So when you look at a Compass agent, they have some of the nicest marketing out there. I wouldn't say we're necessarily trying to compete on the marketing side. Where we come in is we go to an agent and be like, look how much time you spent on this last deal, and Compass took 30-40% of your commission. We are going to come in, we're going to be like your kind of tech backend, we're going to handle all your backend side. You come in, you plug in like RPA or listing agreement, and we handle everything from like vendor ordering checklists and like getting like photography order, things like that, to getting termite home inspections, document, it's getting sent back and forth. It's all done through our platform and done kind of on the back. The agent doesn't need to initiate most of the stuff. It's kind of done for them. So that's just kind of a way. It's like we're not trying to compete on like the marketing side. We're not going to say we're going to be like beautiful, glamorous like Compass office on Beverly Hills. We're going to say you're going to work from anywhere in the world. You're going to make more money. You're going to save a lot of time working with us.
Yeah. Just to touch on that. So Compass, of course, is kind of like the high-end exclusive brokerage. They seek out their agents. Sometimes they pay agents to come on board. They're seeking top producing agents. One thing that we know is that 10% of the agents out there are doing 90% of the business. The other 90% of the agents are kind of trying to pick up scraps, and they're not performing as highly as they could. And so our target market is not who Compass is looking for. So tech aside or resources aside, our target market compared to Compass is completely different. And then Redfin, of course, is primarily a listing service, or an online listing service for buyers or customers to go look at, rather than being agent focused, because a lot of the agents with Redfin are either salaried, they have a kind of a different financial structure to it. So when we look at direct competitors, we're not really looking at companies like these, because we are focusing on the kind of like masses of agents. So not your top producers necessarily, and not people that are looking to be salaried. We're looking to kind of seek out agents who are that inner entrepreneur, that inner salesperson, who want to really facilitate their careers and kind of bring their business to the next level by utilizing technology. When we say our technology, we are talking primarily about a transaction management software. So there's transaction management out there, but it's more focused to, it's more geared towards the transaction coordinator. That's a person on the back end who kind of handles compliance, deadlines, things like that. Kind of the person doing a lot of the nitty gritty work that the agents aren't doing, because the agents are responsible for the negotiation, the client to client kind of interactions. And they're less responsible for, making sure this disclosure gets out at a certain time. Your transaction coordinator is going to help the agent do that. And so my point is, there is transaction management software out there, but it's only geared towards the TCs, the transaction coordinators. And so what we're doing is building a platform, or we have a platform where it's essentially that, but for agents, where they can store all their documents securely in one place. There's no more scattered email threads. We're reducing human error by giving automated checklists, again, just making sure nothing falls through the cracks. You have to send out this document now. Every contract, within real estate is extremely time sensitive. There are certain periods where things have to be executed. There are certain things where, inspections need to be done, contingencies need to be removed, all these things, and disclosures need to go out. All these things, we want to make that information more available and more accurate for our agents, so that we're reducing human error, we're saving time, and of course we're saving money, because those agents are making a better split. That's kind of like the heart and soul of our brokerage side / technology.
Gotcha. And are your agents exclusive to Link?
Yes.
Okay. So you have to be, as an agent, when you hang your license with a brokerage, you're essentially part of that brokerage, and that brokerage takes liability for anything that you do, essentially. So you do all the work, but the brokerage takes the liability.
Got that. That makes sense. And so Link seems to be, really focused on streamlining workflow for the agents. Is there any kind of engagement with buyers or sellers with the platform?
All different parties get an invitation to come on it. Obviously, we're not expecting an escrow company to do a one-off and make a full account and use this as their entire back end. But like say like we have like a listing right now. We have our sellers actually on it. They're signing the documents through it. They're seeing the same calendar that we're seeing for their deal specifically. So they're also kept in the loop more. So any documents we need to review, sign, they'll go into our platform to do so. They see the tasks that we have for them to do. They see the calendars, just to give them a better sense of like the deal flow itself as well. And so like for an agent, you might have 10 or 12 deals. So trying to keep track of that a dozen times could get super hectic. And that's where we kind of had made one like central hub. So you have your task management, your transaction management, your calendaring. You have like a little group chats made with every new deal. So you can like blast out instead of an email, just a quick little notification to make sure everybody's kind of up to date. But yeah, so all different parties as well as the other agents who are outside of Link would be engaging with this platform.
ARTEEN, it's funny that you say, like streamlining workflow. We've actually leveraged a lot of what Brandon has said with his Flowcast pitches. Obviously, I've been hearing them for years. It is essentially, it has a lot of Flowcast components to it, just in terms of getting real-time visibility, like automating the whole compliance processes, streamlining the actual workflow, a centralized hub for people to work in and engage in every transaction. There are very similar kind of value propositions that we're offering. And again, it's really just more efficiency when it comes to opening and closing a deal, so that time is saved, money is made, and deals don't fall through for X, Y, and Z. We're trying to reduce the amount of the room for a deal to fall through our technology.
I think that's really cool. I like the fact that you guys, like you said earlier, are kind of like not focused on necessarily marketing, but it's very much in like a product like superiority for the broker type of pitch, which is obviously a lot more powerful depending on the individual. I'm curious to know though, like, so you have all these like features, right, to like make sure that deals go through and that like brokers are on top of like whoever they're selling their houses to and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Do you or like have you seen, I guess, like with like targeting like or just like it's open, right? Like any broker can kind of come and sign up, like you said, and they want, like, you guys want like a variety of people to come and join.
Yeah.
Like, does that I guess like what are some like complications, right, that arise from doing that or working with the specific audience that you're working with? Because everything sounds amazing when it works, right?
Yeah.
And then when things don't work as you expect, you realize that like there's so much more that needs to be done.
So are you asking about some of our biggest obstacles when it comes to bringing on other agents, or just as a company in general?
Yeah, I would say like one, like as it relates to like Link's interactions with the agents, and then like how that trickles down to the end user. And then also, I guess, I mean, as a company overall, there are lots of obstacles.
I think one of the biggest kind of challenges we faced at the very beginning, kind of had to get like around it, was we were signing these agents in like different cities. So we might sign one in San Francisco or San Diego. We're obviously here. There's no physical office. We're very upfront about that it's all tech-based. It's like cloud-based. So keeping those agents engaged, it was kind of tough at first, because they came from a Cold Banker or Keller Williams, where they were in the office every day, like having like the friendships like that they had over the years. So getting kind of the agent engagement was one of the bigger challenges early on. So then we kind of combated that with like weekly like mentorship calls, or just like kind of like Zoom calls where we're like talking to them, like helping them through like any questions they might have, like real estate specific. Like someone would be, oh, my buyer just asked how like the Fed decision is going to affect me buying a house. Like for somebody who's kind of new to real estate, they don't know how that kind of trickles down. And if they're not in the office, they didn't feel like that was something they could just pick up the phone and call like me or the broker about. So that was one of the ways. Just monthly dinners per city. So it's like just a way, or might be like a hike, or go like bowling, just ways to kind of get agents more involved. And then surprisingly enough, just like shooting out texts whenever. Just like, hey, like, how's it going? Like, how's your Saturday? Like, if you're in the area, like, stop by. Like, we're all on the beach. Just making them like feel connected, like more of a community. But yeah, that was definitely one of the biggest things at first that we saw.
I think to expand on that point, so Link, when we started Recruitment, this was kind of beginning of 2021. We'll give you a quick timeline. So tech development started about 3.5 years ago, and so completely product first. Want to make sure that this product, is functional and is viable, and actually, does has the effect that we're looking for. So 3.5 years of tech development, and then a kind of a soft launch of Recruitment in early 2021, and then kind of an official, more aggressive launch 3 days ago, April 1st.
April 1st.
So with that, we started that soft recruitment, trying to see, kind of like get our feet wet with agents, starting conversations. Hey, how would you feel about transitioning brokerages? How would you feel about X, Y, and Z? We're offering this kind of stuff. So obviously we weren't selling agents right off the bat. We weren't an established brokerage at the time. It's tough to come to an agent who's been in their kind of like, the same ways for the past decade. They kind of are loyal to their company. It's a name that they know. Let's say you're Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams. Like these are kind of household names. Everyone knows them. Everyone understands them. Coming in as a new broker is a little bit tough. So we were aiming for, maybe some less experienced agents who might have just gotten their license, who might not have that much exposure to brokerages, kind of trying to sell them on this idea, on this vision. Come utilize our technology, utilize our support, and let us make you a better agent. Let us make you better at what you do. And so that was kind of our target demographic to start back in early 2021. And because, they were willing to give us a chance, more so than, let's say, someone who's been at Coldwell Banker for 10 years. And with that, the completely virtual brokerage, that's a tough thing that people are still kind of getting used to. And just to expand on Coby's point, really keeping our initial agents engaged. The retention is going to be key, and we've had very solid retention over time. But after those initial stages of recruitment, we can then now feel confident going into other brokerages or people, let's say, that just left their current brokerage and have been there for 10 years. We're comfortable that we can come in and add value to their day-to-day and bring them on board and sell them on what we're doing here. So keeping them engaged is key afterwards, just from a retention perspective.
I think it's actually kind of curious to see like how you're basically like a gig economy company, and then you're saying like, yeah, we're gonna go talk to like brokers, like you said, we're working in the office and stuff. It's actually a really it's like a kind of like a jarring cultural shift. I know that COVID kind of impacted it overall for like makes it more normalized, but regardless, there are still people, like you said, been going to the office 30 plus years. 2 years doesn't mean that much to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I like your whole like culture initiative, like taking that approach. I think that is like, it's like a really interesting concept when you're hiring agents and brokers, but they can like technically, I don't know how the contracts work with brokers and agents, but I'm sure that they could get up and leave like mostly whenever they wanted to.
1099, it's a very simple.
Yeah. So it's a 1099 worker. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that culture and that retention is probably like really, really important, right, for the brokerage overall.
Yeah, definitely. One thing to mention, so there's a spectrum of brokerages that exist today. You have, let's say, brick and mortar, traditional Coldwell Banker. This is like the big names that you see. They've been around for centuries. They're some of the biggest and have the biggest kind of footing in the industry to date. And then we're seeing, in the past few years, kind of not really discount brokerages, but more tech focused or less evolved brokerages that are primarily rooted in technology, and they kind of offer different, like completely different things. So like 100% commission, but you get no support whatsoever. You have to make your own business cards, you have to make your own flyers, you have to generate your own leads. You don't talk to a single person. Just hang your license with us, take 100% of your commission, pay a flat monthly rate, and just go off on your own. And then the traditional brokerages, we think they're taking a little bit more from agents. So, worse commission splits, kind of hidden fees, recurring fees, desk fees, things like that, franchise fees possibly. But they're offering, a lot of support for their agents. You're using that Coldwell Banker name, you're using, kind of their reputation and the community and the office, and you're going in and talking to other agents. So these are the polar opposites that we're seeing today. And Link, we see it fitting in right in the middle. So a little bit of both, where we have, yes, a virtual workspace, but, ample support from a technology perspective to make up for it being virtual. And also, all the perks of having a community and kind of like a culture fit when it comes to the other agents that you work with, and better splits overall. Like, we're trying to find the sweet spot between traditional brokerages and discount brokerages. But that's just on the brokerage side. One thing that we can't go without mentioning is we are a data company. That's what we're aiming to do ultimately, is collect data. Our technology platform is proprietary, so all the usage data, all the information, all the documents that comes through our platform, that's something that we're collecting and processing. That's something that other brokerages aren't doing at the moment. I would say that's our primary competitive edge. That any document, any piece of data, there are so many moving pieces in any given transaction or any given day. We're collecting all that data and leveraging it to facilitate future operations or future transactions. So FAQs about this one property, termite inspections for this property. Any agent that's transacting on our platform, we're utilizing that data, and then in the end, presenting it when necessary. So if a property trades with a link agent today and then trades with a link agent a year down the road, we're going to present the new agent with data to actually facilitate that transaction. So, if they know that the neighbor did X, Y, and Z, or the seller was a difficult person to work with, or this document came through and the home inspection had, things like red flags that came up, they'll be presented with that data just to be more informed as they approach that new transaction. That's just kind of in a nutshell. We don't need to dive too deep into that, but
yeah, just curious on that. Just working on development for the last 3.5 years. Interesting description of the proprietary technology around the data collection, leveraging data to influence future deals. What was the initial process of getting that production off the ground? Starting it as as college students. What was that like?
It was really just building different pieces around like deals we were doing. So myself or Craig or broker would be kind of in a deal and like, oh, like this same thing happened in the last 3 deals and it sucks. I don't want this to happen anymore. And so we would kind of like design a way to circumvent that. Or if he was dealing with like a bad like buyer or seller and he's like, oh, these are the problems they're like raising, they're saying I'm not to get them to keeping them informed with the timeline enough, and like they need a better like idea. All right, well, let's put it in just a calendar, and like it could notify them and like give them like 2 days before and a day before and as many notifications as needed. So it really was just building systems around the deals we were doing, and just like as kind of duct taped together as possible. For the first couple of years, and it was like, okay, yeah, like this is working really well for me, like let's put this in the platform. So it was really just like a year or two of just trial and error of like what pieces worked, and there was some we would like try to develop out and people didn't really use it at all, so I would probably scrap that one.
Right. Yeah, so I guess in a nutshell, kind of identifying the pain points of any real estate transaction through really just Coby's personal experiences. Joseph would kind of be in the background, like building out the skeleton of this piece of the application, of this piece. Let's see if this one works. And all of that came together to form the MVP, which we then launched and have created several different versions of to date.
Awesome. I noticed that on your website, you guys mentioned you have a V4 soft launch coming up.
Yeah.
So if you can talk more about what's that about and any new innovations you guys have in your pipeline.
Yep. So biggest thing, or a couple of big things on the V4 was templated like transaction management checklists. So now a deal opens and the TC is gonna be able to make as many different checklists as possible. So for example, like I'm from Canyon Lake, the HOA, you have to do like a certain number of steps. There's like 6 different things you have to do with just specifically that one HOA. Now she's gonna have a Canyon Lake purchase agreement checklist that's gonna include those things so that the buyers, sellers, agents are notified that these are the timelines you need to do. So kind of like a more dynamic version of a standard just checklist that actually like sends out the documents on the like based on different time triggers, and keeps everybody like kind of involved and notified. And then just that was the big new feature, and then just a UI UX cleanup, just making it look a lot cleaner, a lot better. And then I guess there's a couple things we were working on kind of in the pipeline right now. One more like a finance, like accounting back inside, and then the other would be a new marketing feature for agents to be able to come in and just like click a button and then get like full social media packages, OMs, flyers, things made for a new transaction. So we already have all the data for it. We have like photos obviously pulled from the MLS. So instead of an agent having to text our marketing team right now, like, hey, I just listed this house, we get some just listed ads, they just go in and click a couple buttons, and then they just get it delivered to them. So those are the newest things we're, I guess, working on.
That's awesome. So like very customizable and integratable features.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Awesome.
Just so you guys get a sense too, I mean, on our brokerage side, obviously the numbers kind of ebb and flow, but we're kind of sitting right now around the 25 mark for agents. That's agents from all over, from San Francisco down to San Diego. And things that we don't need to dive too deeply into today, but we do offer branch partnership models as well. I'm not sure if you've heard of side real estate, but they're kind of just a tech focused brokerage that allows experienced agents to come and kind of build a team and build a brand around themselves. So, I mean, we've been watching them closely for a while, and they're doing extremely well. They just had an enormous raise at a crazy valuation. But we also offer that same kind of model, but more involved with the agent, because we actually have an in-house design team that will come in and do brand discovery for you, that will do brand revamp for you. So if you're an existing team or you have an existing brand, bring it over to us. We'll revamp it, modernize logos, modernize assets, all digital, all physical, give you a full kind of dynamic and integrated website where prospective clients can come in and look directly on the MLS pretty much from your website. It's a new kind of lead generation pipeline for you. But we do this free of charge for our branch partners, because that's our most valuable customer. The lifetime value of a branch partner is much higher than the lifetime value of a solo agent. And they're the kind of people that we're aiming to kind of ramp up recruitment for, because they're experienced, they're sustainable, they produce, meaning, our brokerage gets to make money off of them. We get to promote, great agents. We get to work with great agents, kind of build a reputation. And also it's our own kind of hands-off recruitment mechanism where they're growing their teams, because we tell them, you grow your team, focus on your team's production, and we'll give you all this, the brand itself, the back-end support, access to the tech. Kind of like a new direction in real estate where we want people to be, forming smaller groups and promoting themselves and their brands rather than the brokerage behind it. So caring less about the brokerage name and more about the people doing the work.
That's really interesting. So you're doing this with these different branches free of charge, or what does the relationship look like from like a business model perspective?
So, initially for our first 2 branch partnerships, they were free of charge. It's kind of like a proof of concept, testing it out, seeing what the feedback and satisfaction was like. Now it's just a simple deposit. So the deposit would vary, but if you come in and you put a deposit down and we've vetted you as a potential branch partner, you would put the deposit down. We'd build all the assets for you. We'd build that brand. You'd be involved in the brand creation phase. Like, yeah, I like this logo. I wanted to go with this color scheme. I want to go with this name. Give us all that information, work with our design team, launch your brand, and then that deposit is paid back after your first like X number of deals, whatever we'll pay it back in terms of commissions and closings. But because we're able to do this, or at least financially it makes sense, because the lifetime value of a branch partner is extremely high. We expect on average about 400,000 in production each year. And that's not to mention any team members that they bring on, and how they choose to grow or manage their team. Like it's recruitment. It's a great recruitment tool. It's a great they're already vetted and highly capable agents. And so for us, it's a win-win relationship, because we get to work with great agents and build our reputation with great agents, and we're providing them a huge back-end support system and an entirely unique brand.
That's awesome. That's great. Cool. And we've talked a lot about, some key milestones that you've hit, recent product innovations, just general kind of what stage you guys are at now. What are your goals for this year? What are those key, next kind of checkpoints that you're looking to hit in 2022?
I guess like bigger picture goals. By the end of the year, we want to be at 200 agents. We want to have about 15 branch partnerships that span over about 5 states. So just really kind of doubling down. Like the last year, it's been really proving out the concept of this branch partnership. Does this work? Is this a viable solution? And it seems like it is. So now we're able to kind of pick this up, go put it in different cities, different states. And that's where this kind of new recruitment push, like you said, started April 1st. It's going to be the first time we're actually doing a lot of like outbound recruitment, seeing how it goes. But yeah, those are kind of big picture goals for the year.
Our growth it's purely kind of identified by the growth, the number of agents, number of users. As we like that's really the prime indicator for us is really getting more numbers, but also being somewhat selective with who we bring on. So we don't want it to be just like an open door, everyone join. We're loose with our selection process, but we want it to be people that are a culture fit, that are joining for the right reasons, as in they want to be part of kind of the next generation of brokerages, of agents. One thing that we didn't even touch on in the beginning, but we kind of like the median demographic of realtors is 55-year-old white and female. So in the next 10 years, we don't know kind of what the industry looks like, but people aren't going to be working for another 10 or 20 years. There's going to be a shift in the kind of age groups and demographics of people that are highly involved and engaged in the industry. The mentors will be sitting back. They'll kind of be either running their own brokerage on autopilot, or retired, or whatever it might be. What is this next generation of agents kind of be wanting, and how can we truly add value to them and to their day-to-day. And that's kind of what our platform's mission is geared towards, is the next generation of agents, and people that want to take their business to the next level with technology.
Yeah, that's really smart. I agree. That's a great perspective there for sure. And how do you factor when you're doing like recruiting, bringing on agents on? You mentioned right now you're, in California, as north of San Francisco, all the way down to San Diego. How do you factor in geographic presence, and where you guys are looking to focus there?
We kind of just look at where populations are moving. So like Texas is one of the places we want to like move into next. Arizona is close enough to us. We already have good relationships with other brokers there. Our brokers just bought a place up in Utah, so he's been dealing with a couple agents there. So the biggest thing is just somebody we know already, like a great warm intro. We know we're probably not gonna call up some agent or broker in South Dakota and he's gonna be like, yeah, like great, like yeah, I'm gonna trust some 25-year-old kids to change my entire brokerage too. So it's more about places we are familiar with, have relations with already.
Yeah, that makes sense. Real estate being very relationship driven, right? It's all about, connections, who you know.
Yeah.
How did you go about building out that initial network? I know, Coby, you were working at, Coldwell Banker. Is that kind of where your initial stomping grounds were, and where you first built out that initial network and just kind of grew it from there?
More so, I would say LMU actually. So I did grow up at a Coldwell Banker. It's South Riverside, so it's about 2 hours from LMU. So I ended up staying out here, and then just through like Andrew, through Leo, through other like mentors, like LMU is great at networking, and we still hang out with our professors. We were with one yesterday. Just got like lunch with him. So it's huge in the sense of, oh, I know this real estate agent, like go sit down and get like lunch with him. Like it just, I would say grew really out of LMU.
Definitely. LMU's influence was key to all of this. I mean, the entrepreneurs and residents, the professors, people that we represent as clients now that are currently like tenured LMU professors, they've been just invaluable to our whole experience. Coby, of course, was in entrepreneurship. I was actually in psychology. Joseph was in entrepreneurship as well, but deeply rooted in that department and that whole society at LMU. So they've been a huge help and huge support system for us. And real estate is kind of like, it's prevalent everywhere, and especially in LA. So, there's always someone we can be connected to. There's always a prospective client here, because Coby and I do run our own deals as well. It's kind of how we keep ourselves afloat. But it's about a split between doing our own deals so we can get more and more experience, and then also running a company and recruiting agents and managing the tech and things like that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to pivot a little bit and ask you about like you two personally, like running the company. Obviously, this has been in development for a long time. Like for other, people who are interested in like starting a company, maybe specifically in real estate, like do you guys have any advice for them? Like any tips as to how you guys stay sane when everything's hitting the fan and all the fires are around you and you're like, oh my God, the fire extinguisher is on the other side of the room.
One thing Craig told me like very early on is don't get personally invested in deals, and that was one of like the biggest kind of eye openers. It's like the people who are buying it, there's a buyer, there's a seller. Obviously, they're gonna have their own emotions tied to it because it's their house. Like you need to be like a neutral third party. You can't be thinking about your commission. You can't be like standing up. You have to stand up for your seller, but you can't be like emotionally involved with them. It's like there's a certain things you have to do by the book, and if the deal is gonna close or not isn't up to you. It's up to these people. There's like other things that go into a deal. So don't think it's all on you. Don't think like if you need to like get too deep into it. So yeah, I would say not being personally like emotionally invested in these deals is one of the biggest things.
I think that also would apply to like the business as well. I mean, if you get too involved in, let's say, a certain investor that you're hoping money's coming in from, or a certain partnership that you're looking to form, I mean, you have to really analyze things from a black and white perspective, but also taking into account the gray area. So not really like putting all your eggs in one basket, not banking on X, Y, and Z's partnerships or support or backing. You have to keep pivoting. You have to be light on your feet. Similar to how you don't emotionally invest in the sale of one home, you don't emotionally invest in, let's say, an investment group or a VC or a partner, a marketing partner, whoever it might be. Just stay light on your feet, be able to be nimble and be able to bounce around and try new things. It only gets tougher and tougher. The more progress you make, the tougher it becomes, just because it opens up doors to newer problems, but you get better at approaching those problems. There's always going to be issues that you have to overcome. And so, yeah, just stay nimble throughout your entire experience. I think that'd be the best advice.
I definitely think they say the same thing about investing, right? In anything, is that like you can't let your emotions get the best of you, because you have to make rational decisions in business with finances when you're trying to close a deal. I feel like when you're doing sales, it's a little bit different, but in the marketplace where there's a buyer and a seller and like you're a representation, it becomes a little bit more complicated.
Exactly.
Definitely not out of my depth, but no, that's really cool. I think that was great advice, guys.
What would you like to kind of leave our audience with before you head out?
I would say if you're interested at all in real estate, whether you're an agent, a broker, a buyer, seller, check us out. That's the best thing you could do for us. We are active recruiting and can pick up and go anywhere. So if you're in Boston, we could be there. If you're in LA, we could grab lunch. So just check us out would be the best thing, and give feedback. If like you heard all this and you look at our website and you're like, it kind of sucks for this reason, like we're open to criticism. It's obviously always pivoting and changing, so we're open to advice in any way.
I think just some general advice. Some people say you shouldn't go into business with your friends. I think that's people who say that, either they weren't friends or it was just a shitty idea. So definitely do it if you trust and are comfortable with your friends. Coby, Leo, or Joseph and I are really a solid group and we're very close. So we work well with one another. We complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. And it has worked, in a very small scale LMU startup weekend environment, and it seems to be working here. So I wouldn't discourage anyone from working with their friends. Just make sure that you are friends and make sure you have a good idea. And it should be fun.